All right, what's up, guys? So far, we have onboarded. We've got our first bulk file in Apex, and in this video, we're going to set our bid inputs. We're going to actually grab a couple well-performing targets and put them on the bid override table, and then we're going to just optimize our current bulk file for the first time. So just kind of give you a rundown of how the bid optimization sequence works on a daily basis. You do step one, which is you get your bulk sheet. We did that in the previous video. That's where you select your date range, download it, drag it to Google Drive, import your file into Apex, and then you initialize your bulk file, which we just did. And then the final step of that initialization takes you to this screen here where you see your kind of revised bulk file format with some extra headers. And then next, we're going to actually optimize our bids. We need to make sure we've got some good initial bid input settings set. And if we've got the bid override table in play, which means just we've got some specific targets, or you can actually go by campaign level, you can do by portfolio level. There's a lot of functionality here, which we'll have some additional videos going over all of the functionality in future videos. But after you have those settings kind of dialed in where you want them, then it's as easy as hovering over this optimize bids and picking the algorithm that you're wanting to use to optimize your bids. And it's going to, in one fell swoop, essentially take our current bids, look at our current metrics and our bid inputs, and then readjust our bids so we can upload a final formatted file then to our upload Google Drive folder, which, if you recall, we created that. First, we took that ID and plugged it into the settings page, so that's kind of how it knows where to save that file. And then it's as easy as taking that file in that upload folder and uploading it back to the Bulk Ops platform. So that's kind of where we're going to. Let's start off with just setting some initial good bid input settings. And you can see here, again, the default settings are the Apex method. That red just signifies these three additional columns that your revenue per click times target ACoS. That's actually another one of the algorithms here. And again, there's another video that goes over all of these three in detail, but the revenue per click has the same inputs for the most part as the Apex, with the exception of Apex has a few additional settings. But just know that you can start by dragging down the defaults here, and you can just do that by selecting that row. Then this little handle turns into a plus at the bottom. You can grab that and just click once, drag it down to the bottom. The critical columns here are going to be your max bid. So this is the kind of upper bid ceiling. So if you're just using the SKU dashboard as kind of your top precedence level for bidding, then all of these targets that fall into these SKU category ad groups are not going to have a bid higher than 45, even if the calculation says otherwise. So you'll want to kind of keep that in mind. One thing you can do is, if you want to import your product details, is click that and it'll refresh the calculations there, and you can plug in your landed cost. You can see there I have some defaults, just it looks like times the sale price by 25%. That just gives you a good idea kind of what your rough gross margin is that you can compare. So you could set your gross margin for what you want your target ACoS to be, or you can just make kind of custom changes on a SKU by SKU level. But know that your target ACoS, max bid columns, and then also this high ACoS column are kind of controlling factors in really throttling your sales, especially because the upper limits, if a lot of your competitors are getting top of search placement, for example, for certain targets, and they're spending like $1, but your upper threshold is 45 cents, then you're obviously not going to be getting impressions there. So definitely study the training video that goes over these bid inputs in detail if you want to understand. You can also hover over the headers here to get a description of what each means. But the idea here is you want to get some initial settings set like we have here. Know that depending on what you have in this field here, which by default it's going to be set to the Apex, which is what we're going over right now, but you can set these to the iterate layout, for example. Then you'd go up to settings, change dashboard layout, and you can see now it's got the iterative bid settings. So again, watch the video that covers these different algorithms and you'll get an understanding of each one. But I'm going to go back to the Apex mode just for kind of quick start settings and change that back. All right, so last step is we're actually going to want to pick off a few targets and put it on the bid override dashboard to get started with. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail other than I'm going to show you how to put them on here and assign some initial settings. And then in future videos, we'll go into more description on kind of the inner workings and what's going on. But to do this, we're going to actually use this really nice feature of what's called the top target filter. So you can set some filters here to basically go through your bulk ops file and just quickly identify some really good performing targets. You can either do it by your sales and ACOS levels. We've got placement criteria here for different placement positions, and then also conversion rate. So this one's a huge one. If you pay attention to the targets that are converting really well and have a good ACOS, and you just haven't allocated maybe enough budget, or you haven't given enough bid velocity and bid aggressiveness, then you can really hone in on those. And the idea of this bid override table is anything on here is going to take precedence over your SKU dashboard settings. So SKU dashboard settings become kind of your lowest level of bid automation settings, and then anything you put on your bid override table takes precedence and will make those targets bid associated to the bid override settings. So I'm going to just go up here and I'm going to click on top targets, and again it's going to hop over to my bulk ops file, and it's going to filter out anything that doesn't meet those criteria on my top targets on the settings page filter. All right, so there we go, and you can see the metrics here kind of between this column and this column. Here's our ACOS, so we said anything under 45% and had over 10 orders, so you can see all of these meet that criteria. Again, not going to explain a whole lot about the bid override table at this point, but just know in order to get at the target level or the keyword level, if you've got single keyword campaign ad group set up, meaning you only have kind of one, or I'm sorry, not single keyword, but single SKU. So you've only got, say, like a broad match campaign. You've got one ad group in there that it only has one SKU assigned to that ad group. You're actually going to have a SKU in this column AC. And another nice thing there is you can actually filter for just single SKUs if you want to know all the targets that go into just that SKU. But in order to get specific targets over to the bid override table, if they do have a SKU there, you'll copy these two columns, so AC and AD. Again, you don't need to know a whole heck of a lot more than that at this point. If you have multi-SKU campaign ad group setup, which these may be like a low bid auto where you've dumped a bunch of SKUs into one campaign ad group, they won't have the single SKU in here, but they will have still the product target, the target for it. So you can copy that as well. You'll just have to change it on the bid override table as the keyword or target level. So I'm just going to grab a few here and kind of give you an idea of how this works. So copy those, and you'll paste in this column B. So Control-Shift-V is in Victor. You can see they show up in yellow because I haven't actually assigned any bid override fixed values or bid setting inputs. You've got kind of an option A or option B to set your bid override. But here we said because these are multi-SKU campaigns, we need to set this at the keyword level. I'll probably actually end up, it makes more sense calling this a target, so that'll probably be target, but just set that to the target accordingly. You can see these ones that do have single SKU targets in campaign structure, there's a little image that pops up. The nice thing there, you can kind of select multiples at once, and if you click open links, it'll actually take you to Amazon and open up that search for those specific targets. So say you're wanting to target these and always stay top of search placement, you can do that little operation there and almost manually verify that you're getting those placements at any time during the day, which is kind of slick. But the idea here is once you've added some targets to your bid override table, you're going to come up and just import the metrics. So click that sync metrics button, and you'll see here it's actually going to refresh our metrics columns. Gives us all the key metrics, also gives us the daily budget there. One nice thing you can do is if you do click on any of these, there's a little find target button, and that's going to hop you back over to the bulk ops file, and it's actually going to take you to that row. So that's really handy if you ever need to quickly navigate between the two sheets there, know that that's there. But the idea here is once you've got good performing targets, you can see here we've got our average cost per click. One quick way just to ensure you're basically maintaining at least the sales velocity that you have currently is you could set a fixed bid override by pasting those values as your current cost per click. And that's done in column E there. The other option you have to set your bid settings on the bid override is if you don't have anything in this column, you can drag down, again, same deal as how we did on the SKU dashboard. You can drag down these options here, and if you ever go to drag down and it like increments by 1 and messes up the values, if you hold in the control key and drag down, usually that'll fix it. But the idea here is the targets you're going to want to put on your bid override table are usually going to be the higher performers that you want to allocate more budget to and bid more aggressively. So you'll bid higher on like your target ACoS, for example. Maybe instead of 30 like you had on your SKU dashboard, now you're okay with 40 on these targets because they're just really performing well and driving a lot of sales. Maybe your max bid was set at 40 cents. Now you're okay to go up to $1. So that's kind of the intent there. Your high ACoS threshold, which triggers a specific calculation. Again, research the other video that goes into the formulas, but maybe you're okay with 40% on that. And you can obviously set these independently for each target. The other nice thing you can do just real quick on your bid override table is say you have a portfolio where you've got like all your defensive ASIN targeting campaigns in there. You can do your portfolio, grab the portfolio ID, plug that into here, and you can set specific more aggressive bid options for that. You can do the same thing with specific campaigns if you've got those. Another nice thing to do portfolios that I do are like branded campaigns. I'll put all those in one portfolio and just bid really aggressive because you usually will have really high conversion rates there. But that's the intent. Once you have your settings set for the targets that you want to pick off and put on the bid override table, you're good to go. So right now, just kind of going back and seeing where we're at, we've got our SKU dashboard inputs. We've got all those set just kind of to default numbers that we're okay with for now. We've got a few high performing targets that we've picked off and put onto here. We're not using the fixed bid override. This would be a fixed value that those bids would all be set to. We're right now, in fact, using the bid override settings that we've set more aggressive than the SKUs that they'd be associated with if we were only using the SKU dashboard. So last step, go over to your bulk sheet here. It's okay that it's already filtered and whatnot. It's going to refresh everything, so we don't need to worry about that. But we're using the Apex bid algorithm right now, so we're just going to click that one time, and you'll get a little notification. Just hit yes, and you'll see it's going to kind of redo our filters there. And if you watch in column AG, we're going to get new values there, and then they're also going to overwrite and put those same values in column K. All right, and then after it's done, it's going to give you a few options here. We're going to cover these in the next video on some of the things you may want to do after you run the bid optimization sequence. But again, wait till this running script turns to finish, and then you're good to click around. But as you can see here, this column AN, this is always going to be kind of your initial bid, and then the optimized bid is going to be the one in red. That's what was optimized and changed to after you click this button. But then after you've done those steps, all you need to do lastly is click create upload file and hit yes. And what it's going to do here is take this data, put it into a new format, and save it in our upload folder that we have that we created in our Google Drive. And then it's going to be as easy as going back to the Amazon Bulk Ops platform. And I'll do that here just in a second to show you how to upload that file. But after we've uploaded that file, our bids then will be adjusted in all of our campaigns. All right, so there we go. It says new bulk file added. Just go ahead and hit OK, wait for it to finish. And then if we go back to, you can actually click this get bulk sheet. That's going to take you to the campaign manager. It'll open it up in a new tab there. But you'll just click choose file, and then you're going to go to your upload folder now. So I like to actually drag a copy of that folder into my favorite so I can just quickly get there. And you can see it's 128. There's the file that it created. I'd hit OK. I'm not actually going to do it, but it'll hit OK, and then it'll say upload right there where it says choose file. You just click that, and then once it finishes, you'll get a finish successfully down here after it uploads. So that is essentially the steps that you would do on maybe either a daily basis or every couple days, or it just really depends on the size of your account as how frequently you want to optimize your bids. But then the next day, when you want to run this again, you essentially would delete this file each time, this bulk ops file, and then when you go back to step 1, you'll download a new one, and then same thing we did in the previous video, file, import, insert new sheet, and go through that same process again, just walking down through these 4 steps. So really it should only take you maybe 4 or 5 minutes if you don't plan on making any significant adjustments to your SKU dashboard or bid override dashboard. So you can make changes to these kind of in between steps and uploading a new file, but typically on a daily basis, it's not taking much time at all to just run through those and get a new file generated. So, all right, guys, I will see you on the next video. Thanks.